Hey guys, hope you're doing really well today or tonight. I want to make a quick video on 30 days of personal finance content. So, as I would have mentioned, as I've mentioned previously, right, this isn't the timeline on the bottom isn't exactly accurate just because I did take a couple months off, but I did create the content on this day. So, that's why I've left the date here. Now, so in saying that, it hasn't really truly been 30 days consistently, but it has been 30 days individually over the last couple of months of personal finance content. So I want to kind of go through my learnings and the process and kind of next steps as well for me. So let's get into it. So, what have I actually discussed over the last 30 days or so? So, I've touched on the basics. So, for example, how you can grow your income, things like getting a side hustle, getting a promotion at your job, potentially investing, and potentially restructuring income of sorts so that you can actually grow your income further or quicker than if you hadn't done that. Another point here reducing costs and taxes. Now, I feel like reducing your costs and taxes are things that not many people think about when it comes to making money. But obviously, if you're spending a lot of money or you haven't structured your income correctly, where you're paying into the highest marginal tax bracket, or maybe you're with a brokerage that isn't very competitive nowadays, but you've been with them for a while, or your parents have recommended them. It's very likely that you're going to be overpaying and potentially that eats into obviously your profit. And then once you take out that profit, if you're able to reduce your taxes on top of that, then it's going to be a compounding return of more income back to you. Another point here is creating new streams of income. So obviously, I'm a big proponent of doing more than just working a job. Ideally, if you can create a few side hustles, that would be really cool. Ideally, if you can create a product or something and then have that up online for sale, that will also be really cool. Or just do something that you're passionate about as a hobby that potentially could also make you some money as well. Yeah, I think those are just some basic ways around personal finance that are really important. I've also touched on how certain things work. So, for example, your credit score, kind of what makes a really good credit score, what makes a really bad credit score, and the ways in which you can utilize your credit score. Some common mistakes when investing, high level, not looking at the fees, not knowing what you're investing into, potentially using the wrong structural platform, and also just not being consistent when you invest as well will be those are kind of some key things as well around investing. Also, some common misconceptions. So, for example, you know, um, is purchasing your home a good investment? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. A lot of people end up rent vesting and renting out, or paying to rent somewhere else and then having their own investment property. So, a lot of people might see their home as an asset, but arguably it could also be seen as a liability that takes money away from you. All misconceptions around, avoiding taxes and all these kind of things as well. So we've touched on lots of different things. Another point here is niche personal finance. So that's using different type of wealth building strategies. Obviously, there's not one single way to build wealth. There's lots of different ways that people use. Whether it's through earn income, whether it's through starting a business, whether it's through investing, or whether it's just through getting lucky through some other means as well. Knowing the right people. Using trust and company structures. Also, you could include superannuation here, but not just relying on um, earning income into your name and then investing in your name. Over time, starting to diversify and look into other structures or vehicles to invest through. Now, note this will kind of be for the more seasoned investor, not when you're starting out, but doing what let's just say you're 40 or 50 years old, you've amassed many millions worth of dollars worth of wealth. Using the same things that got you from 0 to 1 million shouldn't be used, generally speaking, from 1 million to 10 million to 100 million, right? It would just make it really difficult and it's not efficient at all. That includes the way you invest as well, not just the structures through which you use to invest. We've also touched on some unique ways to optimize your tax situation. Again, this is very personal to each person. So, depending on your situation, these things can be different. Although there are some general rules that apply to everyone, like work deductions and also contributing to your superannuation. We've also discussed some newish concepts around personal finance. So, for example, dying with zero, which before actually like looking into this would have been crazy to me. But there is now a real argument for why you might want to die with $0 in your name, and it's not being greedy because there are things in place that you do to die with zero that make sure that you do end up giving back quite a bit and not just leaving it in a will at the end of the day, which might not be as tax efficient, might not be as efficient just in general, splitting between people and costly, and also might avoid any arguments as well. So, yeah. Another point here is FIRE or financial independence, retire early. Essentially, being able to retire by the age of 25, 30, 35, 40 years old through very strategic and smart investments and different strategies. So, you don't have to work until you're 60 or 70, but you have the choice to if you do want to. Another one here is leveraging debt, good debt versus bad debt, different structures on how you can attain loans, why you might want a loan, and the benefits or the cons of doing so versus just paying cash. Another point here is rent vesting. So that's what I mentioned earlier, where it's like, do you purchase your own home or do you rent somewhere and invest in a property that's going to give you better yields, better cash flow ultimately, and better capital growth, and then push you forward faster than if you owned your home, right? Last point here is that I've spoken a lot about systems, education, optimizing your life, and tailoring your strategy. So it's not always about just making money, money, money. It's also those supporting things over time, like your systems, for example, automation, for example, education around your mindset, and also getting those people around you to support you. Going to be really important. Optimizing your life so you can actually enjoy what you have, but also learn to invest and also leave enough money to make a really tangible difference moving into the future, and tailoring your strategy. So the fact that you know general personal finance is general, right? It's for everyone. It's not going to be specialized. It's not going to be targeted or tailored to your situation, and hence you might be leaving quite a lot of money on the table because there are things that you haven't accounted for or that you haven't you just didn't know about, right? So the important bits summarized. Let's go through it. Um, High level, don't rely on one income. You should make an effort to invest, grow wealth, and reduce costs. Again, just having all your eggs in one basket is just super risky nowadays. The world's becoming more competitive, things are becoming more expensive. Um, People are doing less of what they love to do because they're just relying on it, making ends meet. That might be, not being able to take a holiday, maybe moving cities because they can't afford where they are. So you just really want to, you know, be smart with your investments, be smart with your life, and be able to set yourself up so that you're not relying on one income and potentially, you know, diversify your risk as well. Because if you lose your job tomorrow, you may be in a lot of trouble. Another point here is education and creating systems and strategy with the right people can make you unstoppable. Now, I've mentioned this a million times, so I won't go into it too much, but education, super important. Books, YouTube, article, speaking to the right people, and creating systems, automating things. Even simple systems in your life, like having your Apple Watch and your iPhone, on the same charging dock near your bedside table, so every night you get a good quality sleep without being disrupted. Little things like that can make a big difference. Life isn't about money, but it'll make it significantly easier and higher quality, which is great. I think a lot of people misunderstand the idea of money. Money itself isn't so fantastic. It's the freedom, it's the optionality, it's the lack of stress that money, having money gives you, right? So lack of stress in some situations, not all, but yeah, money allows you to live your life to its fullest potential, and it means more time with loved ones. It means being able to support, your favorite causes, and support your family. It's the important stuff in life that money can really help with. There are many ways, many different ways to make more money. You don't have a valid excuse not to. So, I mean, yeah, there's never been more ways to make money in the world than today. You have AI, jobs and listings going up, lots of tech, obviously. Um, for example, the internet, remote work, making it easier to work from anywhere in the world, and obviously being able to learn something online with a free YouTube course or by reading a book. And the in some industries, the less, I guess, importance placed on degrees just makes it much easier for you to really make a difference and in your life and grow a new source of income or just make more money generally. Learn that new skill. You don't have to pay a $60,000 degree anymore. You can just simply read a good book on it, and that should be enough. And take action, obviously. Personal finance is hard, but make it enjoyable and reward yourself, right? So choose your hard. You could live really rough and have a hard life that way, or you could live really well with obviously sacrificing a lot of your 20s or a lot of your time, or a lot of your sanity, just so you can kind of get yourself ahead, right? But I feel like personally, it's a little bit like being healthy. Putting in the work upfront is painful and is hard and is tricky, but it will reward you 10 times over when you've done the work upfront versus just putting up with a mediocre life. So that's why my opinion on personal finance is so pro, invest, pro make money, because it really does make a difference in your life. And that's the hard I would personally choose any day of the week. Okay, so what's next for me? Now I'll continue to learn each day and grow my investment contributions for an early retirement. With the not to just sit there again to do nothing. I want to be able to retire and spend more time with my family, or spend more time with potentially my kids, or do some more passion projects, right? That might not actually make me money, but I personally really enjoy doing, and that's it, right? Instead of creating additional incomes, doubling down to what I know and seeing great returns. So, I have gone through the process of trying a million different things and seeing what works, and then being able to pick out what I really enjoy, right? Over time, doubling down and really investing heavy into things like real estate, the stock market, business, and even my job right now, will be really important for me. That's not to say, however, I won't be dabbling in different things in the future as well, because obviously the world changes very quickly, and so should you as well in response to that. I am spending slightly more now. It is low overall, though, in proportion to my income, right? Back in the day, I was, for lack of a better word, very stingy. You could call it frugal, but I wouldn't spend money on anything really. And obviously, what comes with that is a lower quality of life. Health gets put to the side, for in favor of money, which obviously isn't the best thing. So I'm spending a little bit more money now, but where I can, using systems and strategies to optimize things like fees and taxes to kind of offset that increased expenditure, and obviously making more money as well. I do have the flexibility to travel, to try new investments, and pivot into new industries. So the world really is, full of opportunity, for all of us, right? In Australia, we're very lucky. In first world countries, we're very lucky. We do have the opportunity to try different things and really just, if we fail, we have social services as well. But for me specifically, just being able to enjoy life more, really get out there and just see what happens, right? Be in a position ready to get involved, if something cool, comes my way. Last point is probably the most important point here, actually, and it's really to just continue implementing what I've been preaching each day. So you don't need to reinvent the wheel all the time, right? For a lot of things, especially investing, right? Consistency. It's just doing the same thing day in, day out, having that discipline. Same with health, right? Eating the right things every day, running every day, stretching every day, getting outside every day. These things, it's just really the simple stuff that you just keep compounding over time. Discipline. That's really the most important thing. If you end up stopping, that's when problems arise. But if you can just keep on going for the long run, you should be okay. And look, you might not get the 1 or 2% small little improvements here and there, but as a overall you know outcome, it will look consistency is really the most powerful thing here, right? So yeah, that's pretty much that's the video, guys. Hopefully, you guys have really enjoyed the 30 days. It's been a really interesting learning experience for me. If you have any comments, make sure to leave them down below. Make sure to like and subscribe, and otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.